For years, American couples struggling with infertility have faced crushing costs in their quest to start a family, and IVF is among the most expensive treatments of all. A single round of IVF in the United States can cost up to $25,000, can actually go a lot higher than that, and many couples require multiple rounds for a successful pregnancy. A major reason for these high prices is the excessive cost of the drugs involved. The number one fertility drug used in IVF is currently 700% more expensive in the United States than the rest of the world. And, you know, we're ending all of that. It's called favored nations, and we're ending it, and we're ending it pretty fast. Nobody thought we'd be able to do it, and we've done it. Drugs are going to come down. Drug prices are coming down. 400%, 200%, 600%, numbers that nobody's ever seen before. Great for Medicare, Medicaid, even Social Security. And they'll bring a significant portion of their drug manufacturing back to the United States. So they're going to bring it largely back into the United States, and that's for a lot of reasons, but primarily because of the election result, November 5th, and maybe most importantly because of the tariffs, because if they do it here, there are no tariffs. So we're going to be very close, I think, by the end of this year. We're going to be very close to $20 trillion in investment. As an example, the Biden administration had less than $1 trillion, substantially less than $1 trillion for 4 years, Maria. Can you imagine? 4 years, less than one. We're going to break $20 trillion of investment, and we're already over $17 trillion. And that's in 8 months. Can you believe that? And he was at less than $1 trillion. And in addition to that, he had open borders, allowing millions of people to pour in. What an administration that was. Worst president in history, by far.
Mr. President, this is the most pro-IVF thing that any president in the history of the United States of America has done. And Mr. President, it's your leadership. You are the reason why the Republican Party is now the party of parents. We are the party of families. This is why when Senator Cruz and I worked last year, we got every single Republican senator to sign on and say that they supported nationwide access to IVF. And just for the record, IVF is legal and accessible in all 50 states. And President Trump taking this action today to lower cost, to bring these issues to the forefront, and to enact solutions for people working to start their families, I want you to know it's significant, and there's more to come.
We're opening the door with MFN pricing and tariffs that support it, Secretary Lutnick, with a new approach to make reproductive medicine more affordable for Americans. Now, I know what you're all thinking, and you're probably right. There are going to be a lot of Trump babies. I think that's probably a good thing. But it turns out the fundamental creative force in society is about making babies. It's about creating. And this country, the one that President Trump is leading so beautifully, has been a country of abundance, not scarcity. To have abundance, you have to address the fact that we had 3.6 million babies last year, which is beautiful. 3.6 million miracles. That's 500,000 less babies than we would ideally have had, even to replace our current population. Building on the success of the last 2 weeks, our team, led by the head of Medicare, Chris Klump, who's standing over there, and Ina Hernandez, have negotiated a spectacular MFN deal to reduce the cost of IVF drug prices by $2,200 a cycle. That's nearly half of the price that it had been. The most prescribed drug in this category in America, made by India Serrano, is described over here. And you'll notice, President Trump, these are discounted from $242 to $10. I don't know what the math is on that. We can't even calculate it. It's a lot. It's too high to calculate without a more studied approach. But I give it up there because that number of $10 will apply for every American who earns less than $115,000 a year. That's 70% of the American people. The remaining folks who are able to make more will have to pay a tiny bit more, but it's still most favored nation pricing, no different from what the Europeans are willing to pay.
When my uncle was president, the fertility rate in this country was 3.5%. Today, it is 1.6%. The replacement rate, in other words, the amount of fertility that you need in order to keep your population even, is 2.1%. We are below replacement right now. That is a national security threat to our country. And we know why this is happening. And President Trump is addressing the root causes through his MAHA agenda of reducing endocrine disruptors, the exposure to chemicals that decrease fertility. Today, the average teenager in this country has 50% of the sperm count, 50% of the testosterone as a 65-year-old man. Our girls are hitting puberty 6 years earlier. And that's bad, but also our parents aren't having children. Parents who want to have children do not have access. I have 7 children. I feel that God has blessed me with that, and I can't imagine how different my life would be if I did not have that blessing.
Previously, you did not seem to be bothered regarding Hamas cracking down on what you called gangs, actually, a couple of gangs. And today you issued a threat against Hamas on Truth Social. What has changed?
And what was said? Go ahead.
You said if they continue keep killing innocents in Gaza, that if that continues, the United States will go after them.
I issued a strong statement. That's right.
But they used to be gangs, and now you're saying innocents. What made you think they're innocents now?
Well, I'm looking at what's happening, and that wasn't the deal that was made, and we'll see what happens. It's calmed down. It's a tough neighborhood. We know that. We have a commitment from them, and I assume they're going to honor that commitment. I hope they do. And I understand they brought back some additional bodies today. It's a rough deal when you think of it, right? Very rough. We have our hostages back completely. We were very lucky with that. But it's a tough situation. They brought back bodies today, as you probably know. But they also said they're going to behave. We're going to find out if they behave. If they behave good, if they don't behave, we'll take care of it. I would say within 2 weeks or so, pretty quick. Marco Rubio is going to be meeting with his counterpart, as you know, Lavrov, and they'll be meeting pretty soon. They're going to set up a time and a place very shortly. Maybe it's already set up. They've already spoken. And I thought it was a very good phone call. I thought very productive. But I'll be meeting with President Putin, and we'll make a determination. Tomorrow I'm meeting with President Zelenskyy, and I'll be telling him about the call. I mean, we have a problem. They don't get along too well, those two, and it's sometimes tough to have meetings, so we may do something where we're separate but equal. We'll meet and talk to parties, but this is a terrible relationship the two of them have, and it's one of those things. I've seen things that nobody would believe, but this is one of them. So we're going to be meeting in Hungary. Viktor Orban is going to be hosting, and it's really something that's time. Last week, over 7,000 people were killed. That's ridiculous. And you know, it doesn't affect our country. We're not losing people. We're not losing Bobby. We're not losing Americans, but they're losing Russians, Ukrainians, mostly soldiers, for the most part, soldiers. And we think we're going to get it. We hope we're going to get it stopped.
Yeah, and why was autism so important to you? What are you trying to achieve?
Well, autism is like a whole different thing. When you look at, it was 1 in 20,000. Now it's 1 in 12. If you look, Bobby, we have different numbers, but 1 in 12, 1 in 28, 1 in 32. There's a couple of different numbers out there, but it's 1 in a very, very different number than it used to be. It used to be 1 in 20,000. And that was not that long ago, 20 years ago or so. And now they had something for boys, for babies, baby boys. It's 1 in 12. I heard 1 in 10, Bobby. I heard another one, different lists. But when you think of that, it's not even sustainable, but there's something artificial. When that happens, that's not like a natural. And then you have certain groups of people that literally don't have autism, and they're not taking some of the things that we're taking. On IVF, it's just that I have friends, including Katie, that called me and they told me the importance of it. I wasn't that familiar with it. Now I think I've sort of become the father ever since I heard. There was a bad decision in Alabama where a judge wanted all clinics to be immediately closed, right? And Katie called up and you said you were pretty strongly attacked by your friends that you didn't even know were involved with IVF, right?
You had people that had grandkids, people who'd gone through IVF themselves, telling their story and saying there are people that cope out there.
Tell what you did when you heard from your friends. You said this was not, they almost became violent. Right?
Yeah, I told him, I said, Mr. President, we need you. We need your voice in this conversation. We need the directive. We need the strong support because there are millions of people out there, moms and dads, wanting to bring life into the world. And you had people, the chilling effect that occurred across Alabama, there were people that were in the middle of that process that had been praying to have a child, and that was halted. And so the reality of that was very stark in our state. And so I was able to tell the president some of the stories of people, friends and grandparents and relatives that told me what they had experienced and also, what they were fearful of in the future. And the president very quickly acted, spoke with a strong voice, and really led the way. Obviously, we saw Democrats continue to fearmonger for the remainder of the year, trying to use it as an election issue when actually IVF is legal and accessible in all 50 states. And President Trump very clearly said where he was on this. And he said, I'm going to make sure that this is more accessible and that it is more affordable for families coast to coast. That's exactly what he did. But it's that real life, those real life stories, sir, that he responded to. And that's what people don't know about him. He cares. And when you tell him what American people are dealing with, he wants to do something about it. You have leaders and politicians that come before him that want to talk about things. President Trump wants to actually make things happen. That's exactly what he did here. And I'm so grateful, Mr. President.
The economy is unbelievable. It really is. It's been incredible. And I think one of the great numbers that I've ever heard, think of it, over $17 trillion being invested in our country. And when you think of, compare that to the last administration, but really compare it to any administration, compare it to any country. There's never been a country with anything like that. That's in a period of 8 months. And we've already broken every record possible. There's never anything even close. So we'll go back to all of that. Prices are down. Oil is down. We're down $58 a barrel. We're going to be hitting $2 for gasoline. I think we're going to be at $2. And the previous administration, they were at $4 and $5. They were going up much higher. And then they swung back into my things, but they didn't swing back properly. They were very, very late. They really blew it. We had it really going in the right direction. They came and took everything out. And it's incredible. I'll never forget. They lost control of the price of gasoline, of oil. They totally lost control, Howard. And then they went back immediately. Well, let's go back to Trump. But by that time, it was too late. And they didn't go back because the leases and everything else, they didn't do what they had to do. They wouldn't know. They really didn't know how to. But we could be hitting close to $2 a gallon. I'd love to break it if we could, but we could be. And when that comes down, everything else has been coming down. Groceries are down. The price of things are down. And honestly, the simplicity is if you can get oil down, it's such a big category, everything follows. So just about everything follows. And we are working on beef, and I think we have a deal on beef that's going to bring the price of beef. That would be the one product that we would say is a little bit higher than we want it. Maybe higher than we want it, and that's going to be coming down pretty soon, too. We did something. We worked our magic. But groceries are down, and energy is down. Electricity is way down. We have the prices coming down for people. They were abused for 4 years by the Biden administration.